Hey! I got it! Oh!
The Western is one of the most unique genres of film. It's not as broad as some of its contemporary genres, but it's not considered a subgenre either, at least not widely. I'm going off of what Letterboxd considers genres and not subgenres, and yeah, Western stands out. I mean, what makes a horror movie? Well, it's scary. You could be a little more specific. They've usually got violent death, slow-building paranoia, and a general sense of uncomfortability. Okay, then what makes an action movie? Fight scenes, high-octane chases, close-quarters combat, gunfights, the likes. So, what makes a Western? Ask around and you'll most likely get the answer: they're movies set in the Wild West. And yes, this is true. If a film takes place in the Wild West, it is a Western. Okay, then what about Django Unchained? That movie takes place in the Deep South, not the Western frontier, so why is it considered a Western? Well, maybe a Western film is just one that takes place generally in 1800s America. So, why is Eddington considered a Western? That's not set in the 1800s, that film takes place in the year of our Lord 2020. So, is it the cowboy hats? The tent standoffs? Well, we're getting a little closer. That's because being set in the Wild West isn't all a Western is. Every film set in the Wild West is a Western, but not every Western is set in the Wild West. It's kinda similar to Gothic horror, which is another subgenre. It's not just the look, the spooky castles and the lightning and the monsters and whatnot, it's the vibes, it's the inherent tragic nature looming over the narrative. It's operatic and metaphorical and dark. In fairness, my definition of what a Western is a little bit more liberal than most people's, but it looks a little something like this. A Western is a tense film, usually with a grizzled and competent protagonist who goes against the law to solve a problem of some kind that comes to a head in one final standoff. They also usually include a corrupt person of power, a conspiracy of some kind, and an antagonistic force that causes problems for both the protagonist and a location. It has an overall dingy and rough feel, with morally gray protagonists, and slow, ever-building tension and moments of explosive violence. Now, obviously, Westerns can include more, less, or be entirely different, but that's usually what they include. That's still really specific, though, so what gives? Well, in short, it's because the Western is actually a subgenre of film, but there's so many of them that it got boosted up to a normal genre alongside comedies and dramas. So if you get rid of the umbrella term Western, you can pretty easily mix and match other genres to get the same result. Almost every Western can alternatively be described as action, adventure, historical, and drama. With that in mind, plenty of films that have these tropes, the corrupt town official, the protagonist who exists in a gray zone outside the law, a conspiracy of some kind, an evil force threatening the well-being of a place, suddenly become Westerns. And finally, we get to the topic of this video. The first summer blockbuster, Jaws. Steven Spielberg's monster movie masterpiece is, in fact, a Western movie.
A what?
But that can't possibly be true, I hear you say. It's a monster movie, it's a horror film. And yeah, you're right. Jaws is, first and foremost, a creature feature. It's about a giant shark that eats people. That's why I went out of my way to recontextualize Western as a subgenre. See, Jaws is a horror-centric creature feature, but it is also a Western. Don't believe me? Take out the ocean, replace it with the desert. Replace Amity Island with a mining town. Replace the orca to a set of horses, make the orca's crew a posse of cowboys, swap out the giant shark for a dangerous criminal outlaw, and suddenly you have the most generic Western movie plotline ever. In an Old West settlement, people begin to mysteriously and violently die. Town officials, including the mayor, begin to look into the killings. Word spreads fast and begins damaging the town's reputation. A person accused of the killings is killed, but is proved to be innocent post-mortem. An old, grizzled cowboy, experienced in killing outlaws, offers to lead an expedition into the west to locate the criminals wreaking havoc on the town. The corrupt mayor denies the request and continues town operations, leading to even more death. Finally, the town's sheriff, a young explorer, and the grizzled cowboy set off into the desert to find the outlaw, where a cat-and-mouse game ensues. The men bond over alcohol and several close encounters with the outlaw follow. Finally, the film climaxes in an intense exchange with the outlaw. The grizzled cowboy is killed, the young explorer hides from the chaos, and the sheriff manages to kill the outlaw with a barrel of dynamite in one final shootout. Roll credits, the end. The similarities don't stop there either. I mentioned earlier, but I'll elaborate now. The mayor of Amity Island, the small town, is a corrupt government official. He targets the wrong thing and stands in direct opposition to the protagonist. Western trope. The existence of the shark, who I'll call Bruce, fills many roles. Bruce's existence is something of a conspiracy at first, a secret kept under wraps by town officials. Bruce is also an antagonistic force that threatens both the safety of the townsfolk, but also the town's economy. His presence causes people to flee the town. Western trope. Martin Brody is literally the police chief of Amity Island, filling the Western archetype of town sheriff. He works outside the law on numerous occasions in direct opposition to the mayor in order to keep the town safe. Western trope. Clint is the grizzled cowboy. He's an older, world-weary, tough-as-nails, cynical, and sharp-witted man who's extremely experienced in his field, while also being utterly traumatized by what he's seen. He's got a tough shell but a heart of gold. He's basically a bounty hunter, except instead of hunting cowboys, he hunts sharks. Again, Western tropes. Yeah, other movies have these same archetypes, but this exact combination of every single one of these archetypes all in one movie? Well, that's a Western. The film is even edited like a Western. Not to say tense sequences and suspense are unique to Westerns, but this slow, almost atmospheric way of building tension with brief and sudden moments of explosive action is. The way things are silhouetted in the sun, and the many close-ups on faces are classic Western movie iconography. There are long stretches without music, and Bruce's final moments and the beach scene are literally cut together like a Sergio Leone duel.
Blow up! Smile, you son of a...
Clint's story about the doomed Indianapolis over drinks feels like a campfire story. Hell, even the vast ocean. To quote A Horse with No Name, the ocean is a desert with its life underground and the perfect disguise above. The rolling waves and endless horizon resemble the seemingly infinite and unexplored desert landscapes of Western movies. There's a constant sense of paranoia, there's complex moral dilemmas, there's a blend of classic optimism and violent pessimism. I think it's funny just how much blockbusters have changed over time. We're so used to blockbusters being loud, expensive noise that a thoughtful and methodical movie like Jaws has almost completely shifted away from being a set-piece heavy blockbuster and into, well, a Western movie. So, what do I get out of saying this? Literally nothing. Do I think this was intentional on Spielberg's part? No, I just think it's cool. I also wanted an excuse to explain my more advanced and broad definition of what a Western is. It's one of my favorite genres, and it can be just as diverse and unique as any other genre, but it all too often gets bottlenecked into this idea of only being a very narrow and repetitive set of tropes, an outdated and problematic genre. If more people realize that Westerns aren't just cowboys and Indians, and that films like Jaws can count if you change your definition even slightly, then less people would think that, and maybe we'd get more Westerns like this. Creative, genre-defying, slow-moving, mature, and thoughtful films with a unique feel all to themselves. Or, knowing my luck, someone will see this video and end up making the 6th Sharknado film, where they give sharks revolvers and Stetsons this time around because shark equal cowboy.